All right, well, Mississippi State, number 5, Georgia. Georgia's a 33.5-point favorite. Eesh. The over-under I have for this one is 1.75 Georgia points in the first quarter. Georgia, 4 games against FBS competition, 7 total points, 1.75 points per first quarter. Bad, 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 bad. The good news is that Saturday against Auburn, I know why you're smiling. Don't worry, I'm going to get to it. I know, trust me. We're getting there. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday against Auburn marked the first time that Georgia scored in the first quarter against FBS competition this year. Happened with the opening script. Yeah, how about that? Amazing what happens when you stay on schedule, when you have a nice balance, set of plays, and the offense looks pretty good. The bad news is that Georgia did not score again until the final seconds of the first half. I think there was 14 seconds left in the first half before they scored again. The other bad news is not just can Mike Bobo dial up an opening script that actually allows Georgia to have some breathing room and not allow fans to sweat out, 3 quarters of football before they can finally exhale and their heart rate is at like 160. In addition to that bad news, stop me if you've heard this before, but a key Georgia player was arrested. Yeah. Colby Young, Miami transfer, who was Georgia's leading receiver against Auburn, was arrested on misdemeanor charges of battery and assault to an unborn child. I don't know his status moving forward. I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of the entire situation, but I cannot imagine there's any world in which he sees the field as Georgia's 7th player arrested this year.
Goodness.
Yeah, I'm not going to get preachy on here and tell you what everybody and their mother knows already of like, wow, how does Kirby keep allowing this to happen? Like you guys already know all of that. Okay. Like it's ridiculous at this point. You don't need us to sit here and break that down from a purely football standpoint. That is a troubling development for the best back shoulder fade guy that Carson Beck has to work with.
They just don't really, like we were talking, they just don't really have any good receivers. So, like, losing a receiver, period, if this dude had gotten injured, I would be like, oh, no.
Dom Lovett's a good player. He's a good player. He's not that go-to guy yet, though. Like, that's the – if you had told me coming into this year, because Dom Lovett, being the drum team member, right? Like, I like who he's been, and he was part of the reason that I'm like, all right, I think they actually have the depth that I like, in a post-Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey world. But if you had told me – we're in game 6 and that guy has had 1 game with 60 receiving yards so far, that's not great. That's not going to cut it. And I think London Humphreys, with this Colby Young expected absence, is the guy that really needs to step up. Coming over from Vandy, ironically enough. Vandy didn't need him at all. No. He's the guy who on the outside. Stay on that side. You're good.
You want to beat Alabama State.
Yeah, we don't need it. Vandy lost their top 2 receivers because Will Shepard went to Colorado, Will. And they did that.
Diego Pavia said, I'll call my old number. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it.
Diego Pavia's like, I got this guy that I played Pee Wee football at Pop Warner with in 5th grade. He can come. He could be here.
My boy. Get him in here.
Buddy, get him academically cleared. We're good to go. Look, I think London Humphreys is the guy that's really got to step up, though. We can sit here and talk about Arian Smith breakout game, blah, blah, blah. I'm sick of doing that. Dylan Bell's a great player. London Humphreys is the guy that's got to step up, all right? Like, he just has to mature and develop into this go-to guy. I know he's been banged up in the first part of the season. No excuses anymore. Need that rapport with Carson Beck to be there if Georgia's going to be a championship caliber team. I'm going to say that Georgia finds a little bit of rhythm in the passing game. Not like, hey, we're carving you up and this is just open season. But I think Mississippi State, with their ground game, with Michael Van Buren Jr., no relation to Michael Van Buren senior. I don't think, at least. I haven't dug into that one just yet. I think Mississippi State could do a couple of things that frustrate Georgia, at least against that Georgia defense, which is not in the Max Olson stop rate at this point in the season, not in the top 20, rather. Which he came out with that on Tuesday, and it's like, yeah, don't expect to see Georgia. Georgia does not feel like a team that has been able to get off the field when they have wanted to in ways that you always expect these Kirby Smart coach teams to be able to do. So even Mississippi State with a backup quarterback, I'm like, yeah, they might be able to run the football a little bit. I'm going to copy the Mississippi State Texas score. I'm going to say that Georgia wins 35-13, and it's would be fitting because this is Georgia's Texas tune-up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, right? Where it's like, okay, Mississippi State, man. Like, what are we? I
Year
get blown
zero.
up.
It's okay. We don't judge year one coaches.
No,
It's
no,
year
no, no, no.
zero.
But I'm saying, like, in terms of like predicting, like, you guys got laughed off the field against Toledo. Got a little better against Florida. Maybe this is a team that's improving as I say that out loud. It's like, because against Texas, they played well. Like, the final score certainly, like, does not, for our expectations of Mississippi State, where we basically didn't even talk about them, and I was joking about founding fathers. I think they're just, weird as it sounds, I feel like they're just getting better. Maybe this is the game they get. I mean,
Defensively, they were better against Texas, and they kept
Right.
they kept the Arch Manning led Texas offense at bay until, yes, you're right. The final score was not necessarily indicative of how close that game was late in the third quarter, but defensively, I don't know that one game all of a sudden shows that, because defensively against Florida, I mean, Florida got every blade of grass it wanted in that game, so it's tough to
degrees,
say.
though, right? It's like you get blown up by Toledo, right? That's like losing the insert team here. I can't use the team I usually use here. Insert team here is whatever. Can't be worse than that. Boom. Then, okay, well, you lost to Billy Napier, but it was competitive, and you're year one coach. You're Mississippi State. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. Okay, well, now you're in a ball game with Texas in like the third quarter. That's pretty crazy. So it's just in terms of improvement, I can say they're improving. Now, that being said, it wouldn't shock me if Georgia came out there and just smacked them. And I think to your point, like, Georgia obviously knows that they're, first quarters have not been great. So I think this is a great team to kind of run practice against and be like, hey, if you have the athletes, which we're starting to realize, Georgia, as guys are kind of starting to get separated off and whatever, like maybe the guys that showed up aren't who we thought they were. And I'm not going to speak on Colby Young's situation, obviously, but he's not going to be in this game, hopefully. So point being, like, it's just, I think they at least are going, okay, here's the question. Here's the deal. We talked about what does Georgia do well. I would hope that whatever they would like to do well against Texas, we will see them do well in this game. How about that? Like, I don't think they're hiding the good plays at this point. I think they legitimately need to improve.
Yes,
so
that's an excuse. Like, I don't want to hear any of that at all for Georgia. If they come out flat in this game, it's not, they're playing a little bit of conservative. No. They need to figure out who they are.
Right.
You with that schedule, you need to figure out who you are. You're past tune-up time, right? Like, and I know I said tune-up for Texas, but like, I don't think this is a schematic tune-up or anything like that. I think mentally it should hopefully feel like a tune-up by day's end, because you shouldn't be playing in a 60-minute game with Mississippi State at this point. Yep. But I agree with you 100%. Like, no excuses for another slow start. And another, like, if it's 7-3 going into halftime, like, this is just who Georgia is. And people are already saying that during the Auburn game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you're, that's the thing. Whatever you should be able to do, like whatever you want to do, you should be able to do it against Mississippi State. So let's just say in theory they come out and they're like, we're going to run the ball 30 times with ETN. Cool, that might work against Mississippi State. If you want to do that, you can't do that against Mississippi State. Now you can't do it against Texas.
True.
So that's the thing, is like, if your answer is, hey, we're going to give Carson Beck full range of motion, let him go 4 wide, let him spread it out, make lots of decisions. I think he's probably at a point in his career where you'd probably like that better than every other thing, but it goes to the point of these receivers are just kind of like not where they need to be to create separation to allow for 40 passing attempts, right? So I think it's going to be fascinating to see, because, we're all saying the same thing here. Even if it's a blowout game, I think Georgia just needs to run plays that work and see the ball go in the hoop, as they say in basketball. So I think this is probably, I think I'm right there with you. It might be a little bit of a struggle first, second quarter. I think they'll hit their stride, end up with a final score that is a beatdown. But the key is you just got to get confident. I want to see, as insane as this sounds, like, I want to see Georgia receivers celebrating. Like, I want to see them excited to play football, because it feels like everyone's just kind of locked in the phone booth right now.
I think Trevor Etienne's got his legs under him a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't think he had that same burst early in the year, and that's why I thought Nate Frazier stood out. And I thought in that Auburn game, you saw the Trevor Etienne that Georgia fans hoped he would be when he transferred from Florida. Yep. Maybe that will be the guy that we see the rest of the season. This is still kind of a new role for him, so TBD and kind of what that workload looks like week to week. But I would expect to see that guy on the field against Mississippi State, and I would expect to see Nate Frazier playing well as well. But yes, you're right. If you can't do it against Mississippi State, you're not going to be able to do it at Texas. No doubt about it.